So hello, my name is Lucinda Evans, and 6 years ago I decided that I wanted to help my community, and I started the project in my garage, Philisa Abafazi Bethu. 6 years later, we are going to take a journey back through the eyes of our survivors and our beneficiaries, and also we want to celebrate our achievements that we have done in the Lavender Hill area. Although our challenges has not stopped, it's very much still there. We also want to show the community that we have lavender and Lavender Hill. We couldn't have done and achieved what we have in the last 6 years if it wasn't the investment of many people with good hearts. And especially we want to acknowledge the US Consulate for their 4-year grant support, program support that they've given our organization. If it was not for the PEPFAR grant, we wouldn't have had and been able to celebrate this last 4 years. And because we are at the end of our grant cycle, we also want to celebrate together with our partner, which is the US Consulate, the journey, and show you the stories of our survivors in how your investment helped women to succeed. I'm also very humbled and blessed to have shared 6 years with wonderful staff and volunteers that has been part of this project, who has come as survivors, and now they are forerunners, mentors and facilitators in this area. And they are the pillars of building this organization. But we also want to celebrate the fact that we've had clients who entrusted their lives into our hands, and we want to also tell their stories in their success as women that have come as victims and now they are walking as survivors. So we want to introduce Sandra Williams. She's a 42-year-old single mother, 2 daughters and a granddaughter. Sandra has come through the doors of Philisa Abafazi 3 years ago as a victim. She had a complete breakdown, and to the point where she almost lost her life. 3 years later, Sandra's picked up her life. She is rebuilding herself and her daughters. She's become a facilitator and a mentor to the Girl Child After School program.
For me, it was just an extra pair of hands that could help in the community. And when I get home at night, it wasn't about the money and it wasn't about what I could gain out of it, but it was about to put a smile on someone's face, to wipe a tear off someone's eyes, to give a hug to someone that really needed it. As I volunteered for the organization, I started to work with the senior support group. I started to work with the children, and I learned as I volunteered at the organization, and I instantly got a love for what I was doing, and I fully understand that what was needed in the community, because each day I would learn something new, and each day the pressure would get closer and closer for the need out there. We struggle as women in this community, but for me to reach out, it's even more worth than the struggle I got. And because of that, it makes me overcome my hurdle. I can overcome many things in my life because of helping others. And it's a great honor for me as a woman to do what I'm doing, because I can implement it in my household. I can teach my 2 daughters, because I also got women in my house, and they learn for what I've been through. They learn throughout it, and they're seeing these things. So they will become the new mothers, they will become the new wives, they will become the new maybe leaders in this community, and they will be aware of these things that is happening. So not even the crime or the bad things that is happening in this community will keep me back of reaching what I want to reach in life. In 2011, I had a very bad experience, and it was the second time in my life that I had fallen into a depression, illness. The first time I was 27 years old when I had a slight stroke. I lost it all and I landed in hospital. I went through a suicidal moment where I just wanted to end my life because I thought that it was not worth it to live anymore because of the things that happened, and I couldn't cope with it. And I drank 50 high blood tablets. But then there were people, good people in this community that fought for my life, and they helped me a lot. The organization, they did extremely a lot. My kids stayed then at Lucinda's, and she would feed them while I was in hospital, see that they go to school, because back then they were at school, and they were just the family that I needed at that time. So Philisa Abafazi became part of my life, because it became part of my soul. It became everything for me, because when I needed them the most, they were there for me. My whole team, all my colleagues, the volunteers that were there. I'm not shy to talk about it. And I feel for me it's important to talk about this, because there's more people in my community, in other communities that suffer from the same disease. And it's not to feel ashamed of it, but to talk about this so that others can come out to the fore and speak about it, because they release you from a lot of anger. It release you from hiding yourself. It release you from being open in the community, because this, if you don't talk about it, you will never be getting over what you suffer of.
So our services has also not just assisted women and young girls and older women. We also assisted a young gay man who have had problems with sexuality, acceptance, stigma, and he was heavily involved with drugs. He became one of our first non-female participants in our support group program, where we were very challenged at first, but we were also managed to help him with the other women to obtain a certificate in an assistant chef's course. We also managed to assist him to get employment. His passion was that time, and it's still hairdressing, and we managed to help him to find alternative employment as a hairdresser working in a salon.
I've been involved with some drugs, and I've abused drugs, and I've been in some gangster violence with some gangster guys and things. Because this is Cape Town, we're all down and out, and we all need work, and there's no jobs that's created for us here in the community. I've taken stuff from shops. I've been a shoplifter, just to get drugs. We've mugged people. I've mugged people with the guys, you know. So I've been involved with that, with the stealing and the mugging and things, you know, robbing people, and breaking in houses and things, and in people's cars and things. Yeah. So, and it made me a really bad person, because of the things I did was bad, you see. So it made me feel bad about myself, you know. Like, if I could have turned back the end of time, I would have done that, to have been a better person, to the person that I am now. And then I just wish that I could speak more to people out there, especially to younger people, like to warn them about these things. Because if you get into it, you don't look at it as it's bad. But when you start doing the things and you start walking with them and you're in that crowd, you have to do what they do. If it means sometimes killing a person and keeping silent about it, you'll have to do it to survive. Otherwise, your, your head will be next on the chopping block. I eventually ended up in jail, and that is how I got hold of Lucinda. So my mommy gave me a number and then asked me to phone her. And I phoned her, I spoke to her, and then I came to see her, and then that is where my life turned around. And I've joined the program, and they've helped me through a lot. Actually, then they teach me about life skills, some computer skills, a lot of things I get. And then from there, I got a real job, did this job. I've worked for about a year at a fruit and veg store, worked there for about a year. I've worked there for about 3 months. I became the supervisor there. And then from there, myself and my cousin at the back here, and then we opened the salon, and that is how we managed to run the salon now. From my early childhood, I've always loved working with hair and things, and I've been working with hair, and I did some bad things and that, but I've always maintained the hair part. So I have a lot of cousins, so I have a lot of family and extended family. So there's always weddings, there's always 21sts, there's always birthday parties. Now I'm just living my dream. I've battled through school. I had lots of fights with boys because I was a bit different, you see. And I was more gayish than that, so I was more to the girl side. And I've been dressing like this since I was 16. I've been battling with that all my life long, but the day when my parents accepted it, and then it was easier for me. But still, I had that, and they've helped me work through that issues and things. And even with my drug addictions and that, they've helped me overcome that. And they've had like programs where I went to, a lot of workshops that I've been to that really shaped me as a person as well. It shaped me into a better person. Even the way I'm talking to you right now, I haven't spoken like this way before. I was more flat and more, more to the gangster side and to my community side. And where I am now, it's a major change to who I've been and what I've become now. I've become somebody better, and I even talk better, I even dress better. My appearance is even better.
So our service is also extended to having a safe house for victims of violence. It started off with the police not knowing where to take victims of domestic violence, and we had a Wendy house at the back of our house, and we provided this emergency service assisting the police services in protecting women. 2 years ago, we received a house from the city of Cape Town where we're renting, where we run the service now as a full-time 24 hours emergency facility for victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. The client that we're about to speak about is a client that came through our doors in a very, very difficult circumstances where she was kept hostage for a while. She was very ill when she arrived there. She was locked up for almost 2 weeks in a bathroom and was fed water and bread. It came through our doors as an emergency. We decided to keep her longer than our prescribed time, and we assisted her in getting on her feet. We are happy to say that even though we journeyed with her 2 years ago, this year she came back, and now we are walking with her, assisting her via one of our other partners in getting therapy, but also to support her.
I lived, I think, most of my childhood and, most of my life, I lived in fear of doing anything, because I was raised that everything I had to do was, if I didn't do as I was brought up, then something bad would happen to me. I would be punished for it. So most of my decisions I made out of fear. I would wake up in the morning and my first reaction would be, who's angry with me? Who's going to punish me today? So basically, every day's decision was made out of fear. I was never taught to make a decision for myself. Me, what would I like to do? What would I like to wear? What do I like? Any of that kind of stuff. I did not have friends. I was not allowed to have friends. If I had friends, everything was monitored. And if I made friends, he would interfere and then just make sure we don't see each other. So it was very confined. So I think I did not develop like a normal child. I did not go far in school. So I didn't finish school. So most of my childhood and teenage years was kind of confined in captivity. And then I rebelled and I ran away from home at the age of 17, and I came to Cape Town first time, and then I started my life, kind of like exploring for the first time in my life. But it was hard because I constantly lived in fear. I ended up in several abusive relationships. And the last one, I was at a breaking point. I think that was the first realization that I have to get out of this thing. That is how Lucinda helped me. That's how Lucinda and the safe house came into the picture. And I think that was my first step ever out to get out of this situation. When I walked in this place, it's like, for the first time in my life, I felt caring. Someone cared. I walked in here and I don't know, because I was exhausted. It was really an exhausting time for me. And smiles, people smiling at me. It's something I'm not used to. And people not asking me questions, just smiling, offering me a cup of tea, and that meant so much to me. It's something I wasn't used to. And women, I think because it was women as well, made it. I really felt easy. That there was no expectation. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to do anything. And I was exhausted, and I just slept for the evening. And every day it was just love and smiles and caring and positive things. It's like a home. It's like a home I've never had. For someone like me, it's like I can go to the bathroom without being punished for it. I can be in the kitchen and pretend to be a kitchen lady. It's stuff I was never taught. I was never taught to cook or not allowed to wash dishes, and all those things are very important for me. So it feels like a home. And I just decided, no, I have to face this thing. I can't run away from this. I have to face. I have to speak up and say who did what to me. And that's what I did. It was very hard for me, but I confronted him and I asked him. I said, "Why did you do this to me?" So I confronted him. He admitted some of the stuff, but not all of it. And then I had to step out. I had to get away from there. So I took that step, which was the best thing I've ever done.
People always used to ask me, do I think I'm a pure gender activist? And I still try to define what pure gender activism means. If we want to make an impact on violence against women in the Lavender Hill area where we serve, we also need to look at how men behave. And I think one of some of the answers that we were looking for in how to prevent violence against women is to start working with men. Because in our community, there are no programs for men. There are no support programs for men. There are not even shelters for men who are victims of violence. And with having said this, we then decided to run a boy-child program and also assist young men who are youth in getting their lives together. And with this, we want to introduce Mahmoud, who is now a volunteer at Philisa Abafazi Bethu.
Like the kids in our community, they're exposed to violence, gangsterism, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. So better NGO runs an after school program, then gangster taking a kid from the street and making the kid belong to their program. At after school program, I do tribal with the kids. It's like a fitness then, but just use implement parts of it. I teach that to the kids, make them feel active, listen to the music, let them feel at ease with themselves, like moving out, moving side to side and up and down. And when I do it, I see actually everybody participate and everybody do the same thing, so they feel comfortable with the person next to. They don't feel discomfort. Or they're making the move wrong or is this wrong. They just enjoy themselves, and for me, I like seeing it. That expression on the person's face. It is, I can see the change I'm bringing to those kids and this light I'm bringing to them, the positivity that I carry over and what I get from them. Because with kids, you can, sometimes you have a down day. With my table, you never have a dull day. I always use like myself as an example. I stay in the community. There is gangsterism in the community. There is drug abuse in the community. There is all of this in the community. All those problems you face in the community. But I didn't go that road. I just made a decision to decide, Mahmoud, enough is enough, and I, I made at ease. I made ease with myself to. I'm on the road to get on the road to my brighter future and setting goals that I'm achieving, and through me I show them, like I'm also in the community. I'm also part of the community, but I don't do things that community do. Always I rather be the helping hand in the community, because if anybody, you can ask anybody, even right around the world, if you do good, good follows. If you do positive, positive things come to you. If you think positive or set stuff in a positive way, it will, the return in it will be positive.
It is already a year, and I think 2 months that I'm in this program. There's a lot of kids, 15, 14, they're smoking now, they're drinking now, they're throwing their lives away, they're getting pregnant, and some of them get HIV positive, some of them drop school out. It's almost like they said, that school is no more for me. And it helps me a lot to not do the same thing. There's also young children that are drugs. They don't really know what they are doing with their lives. For those young children, it's also the same, because when they grow bigger, they will understand what the program is really on about, what we're really doing, how we're going to change these children's life. And in this program, I would like to be here until I'm 18, because that's when I'm in matric, and when I'm done, then I'll maybe go study for a social worker.
So part of looking at generations in terms of healing in this community, we have our youth facilitator, but we also know that this community has a rich history of older persons, which is the legacy of this community. And we find that older person abuse is very rife. It is underreported. It is also one of the most saddest of issues that we deal with. And within our older persons program, we also look at our grannies and grandfathers, and we assist them within the space that we have on a Wednesday with them to help them to heal, to also promote wellness, but also protection of the older persons.
When we get together, everybody's not actually in the same mood. Some is depressed, some is happy, some is just not there. But when we come together and after we had our prayer for the morning, everything just comes together. Everybody changes because everybody communicates with one another and they listen to one another. And that is what is the best part of the seniors club that Lucinda actually brought us together with. So that we could actually meet other people which we never met before.
We're looking out for that day, then we come together as seniors and we do a lot of stuff there. We dance,
Exercises.
we do exercises, and all the joy that's coming in just to break away from the house to come enjoy yourself.
This piece here, the mosaic, it was a piece of hardboard that we did put some glue on, and we had these mosaic pieces that we had to fit on there and make our own designs. Yesterday we polished it and today we brought it home. A lovely piece, a nice piece.
The root of Philisa Abafazi originated with giving women tools to succeed. 6 years later, we want to say that within the new women, which is part of our after-school program, we hope that in the next decade that we will have women and now young men growing up, respecting one another, where there will be support programs, support structures for men as well. We are very happy looking back at the last 6 years, and we want to thank you for journeying with us.